Hey, this is Josh from Growlink, and in today's walkthrough we'll be going over manual task overrides. This is a new feature within Portal 2.0 that allows one to turn off a device or override currently scheduled rules using a manual task. In order to use this, you'll need to start by making a manual task override. We'll start by logging into Portal 2.0, then selecting the controller that you want to make this override on. In this case, we'll use the example controller that we have. Once we're at the dashboard for the controller, we're going to go to the Rules section to create this manual task override. Here we're going to select the default folder and default rule group to make this rule inside, go down to the Manual Task section, and then click Add Manual Task. Here we're going to put in a display name, called an example override manual task, and we're going to select a device. In this case, a fill valve. Here you can see that we can specify a dosing recipe because it's a batch tank fill valve, a duration for this event, and then beneath the duration we can specify whether the valve will be on or disabled. If we leave it at on, when we run this manual task, it will turn on the fill valve for this duration of 2 hours and 2 minutes. If we set this to disabled, this will prevent the fill valve from turning on from other rules while this is active. This can be handy if we need to work on the plumbing within this particular tank, but we don't want it to accidentally fill and waste nutrient water. If we hit manual task, we can save this rule and update the controller with that change. One additional type of override that we could use is something to dim the lights in the room. Here, if we go to add a manual task, put in a display name of example lighting override, and select a dimming zone, which is sending a dimming value towards some lights in a flower room. We can specify a duration for this, and then a specified light level that we want it to stay at. In this case, we'll use 20%. If we make this override and add that manual task, and then update the controller, we can then use these manual tasks to override the current rules that are in place. In this example, we have a lighting schedule that's running basically 24/7 at 100% throttle. And if we go to the dashboard for the controller and check the Devices tab, we'll see that the lights are currently at 100% throttle. But if we go to our manual tasks and hit play on our example lighting override, this is going to set the throttle rate of that light to 20% like we configured in that manual task. And if we go back to the Devices tab, we can see that the light dimming zone is down to 20% throttle. This can be very handy if you're doing an IPM spray in your room and you need to dim the lights so that you don't damage your plants because of that foliar application. This concludes how you'd make a manual task override within Portal 2.0.